Hey YouTube, if you haven't already watched it, I just posted a video of the review of my K2A ASGMP9, so you guys should go check that out. It's a really good gun. Anyways, here's another review. This is kind of a Canadian exclusive review. This is a Skeleton Sidearms SS18C. The OEM is Stark Arms. It's not a very good gun, to be honest. At least the first models of this gun aren't very good. This gun I bought as a boneyard, so I don't have the original box, but you could probably find images of the box on the internet. I don't have the original magazine either. I'm using a WeTech mag with a Tokyo Marui gasket on the top for better efficiency. Let's see if I can. I guess not. Here we go. This magazine is very old. This one was from my old WE18C, the HK3 18C. Still has the. It still seals out everything too. The valve broke a long time ago and it still seals out gas, so that's quite impressive. You can take a full mag of gas after having no pressure for 3 years. I find that quite impressive for WeTech. So anyways, I will get into the issues with this gun and the issue because it kind of falls into the Stark Arms. So the first gen Stark Arms Glocks, or I can't say that because I might get sued. The S18Cs from Stark Arms, they had a lot of issues with the hammers breaking. I mean, personally for this brand had a lot of that as well. But before I talk about the issues, I'm going to get into the features. So basically, this is just a Tokyo Marui clone. A lot of it's kind of different though, but the internals, like the main functions of the gun, are practically the same. So this gun has has a locking block pin right there, along with the trigger pin, which is quite realistic actually. It also has the trigger guard plug right here, which is also realistic as well to the real gun. This is where the Glock logo would be, but that's not there. Skeleton Sidearms, they're a Canadian brand. If you go over to the other side, this gun's pretty barren. There's no trades other than the aftermarket outer barrel that I have. Plastic mag release, plastic trigger. The plastic on this gun's pretty shite. Like the frame is bad, but the trigger and mag release are pretty decent quality. The slide release is a steel slide release. You have a steel slide lock right here. Plastic sights. Plastic sights. These are real steel, or they can be used with real steel sights. So these are just slide-ons. Slide these off and clip this one out. It's like the KSE KWA ones. You can use those sights too. Has the lightning cut right here with the portings and the barrel and the slide. I'm using a shooter's design outer barrel in this. Sounds okay. The quality of the metal is pretty shitty too. The casting, I would assume the slide is cast because I wouldn't expect a clone company to be any better than that. The firing pin base right here, the cover right here is also plastic like the real gun. You have the extractor piece that is part of the blowback housing unit clip right there. So anyways, I'm going to get into the problems with this gun. So as you can see, the gun replicates the real 18C very, very well. It has even the selector detent right there. But the major issue with this gun is the quality control on the internals are really bad. Let me adjust the camera real quick. So basically, the first thing that usually breaks on these guns are the rear screw posts on the frames. The reason why is the tinted receivers are most oftenly quite weak. They usually break even on any gun, so that's quite understandable. They're strong though. They can take like a beating like right here. I've shot one quite a bit and they don't break. They don't even crack, but the screw posts are really weak. These pins are really hard to get out. They kind of lock in. So as you can see, this side's kind of a little messed up because you have to really hammer it to get it out, which is I find really stupid. The magwell, I mean, it's just a standard Glock other than that. So the nozzle is plastic. The nozzles are surprisingly strong. They can take CO2 well. But let's take the Glock apart right here. So right here, you have the locking block right here, which is just for looks. Mostly when you take this apart, it's just for realism and all that. Just like the real Glock. Stark Arms, if you buy a Stark Arms Glock in America or in Asia or wherever, the frames are very good quality. They're almost on par with Garter frames, which is really surprising. Like WeTech, their externals are good, but their internals are shit. After a while, I know they started using steel for the hammers, but even those were steel alloy and they were pretty cheap and they would break. I bought an azimuth steel hammer. These are really damn good. This is a new company. I'm not sponsored or anything, but they're really good. This hammer has lasted quite a bit of shots, taking good stress. As you can see right here, though, there's a bit of a design flaw. So right here, usually it's filled in on the Tokyo Marui hammers, but for some reason, this is completely gone. So you have this really thin piece of steel right there. Don't know if you can see that right there. And I've had the Guns Modify hammers like that break, and they split straight down, which is the issue. And that's obviously not good when you're spending. But this hammer is pretty cheap. It's like 20 bucks, and it goes through a QPQ process, the quench. But yeah, so the only thing this gun really needs, though, is a steel hammer. This rotor is an AIP rotor. It actually works really well with this hammer. It's like it was basically made for it. I do have steel upgrades for it, but there's really no point of using it. Another issue with this gun is that the trigger bar steel, which is good because the trigger bar will never bend out of place, but if you look in the slide right here, it wears down the semi-auto sear very quickly, and it starts to angle off. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, my Marui one's still perfectly level, but this one's starting to wear away. Other than that, though, the gripe with this gun, the hop-up unit's quite strong. These teeth usually break off on the Marui ones. This one still hasn't yet, and I've had this for a long time. But I had to do the custom work and replace the hammer, and ever since it's been working. It's got a WeTech hammer, or it's got a WeTech hammer spring in here, and that's worked good as well. I don't worry about any of this breaking too much, due just to the Marui design being very sturdy and a good design. So the features in this gun, so there's certain parts that I like about this gun. For example, the more realistic takedown with the locking block and whatnot. But the fact that it has the dual stage spring, so this spring doesn't have to be that tight or that strong for it to cycle fast. This gun cycles very quick because of the level 2 spring right here. The gauge is very thick. So even when the slide comes forward, it's not that strong, but when you fire it, the cyclical rate is crazy fast. So if you're trying to fit Tokyo Marui barrels in here, the one thing is you have to shave this part down right here. So right there. Or they won't fit for some reason. They just do that. I don't know why. They just tend to not work that way. Just 1 second. Just plugging in my phone. Anyways, so what I like about this gun is the hop-up unit and the nozzle fit very tight, which means a very good gas seal. So as you see, if I put that in, here's get that the focus in right there. It stays in all the way until you pull it out. And this is good and bad because it also wears down the hop rubber a little faster, but it also ensures a tight seal. The extractor is also a separate piece right there, which makes it more realistic. But other than that, this gun functions very good. The Stark Arms design isn't good, but the Tokyo Marui design is. So with the little bit of innovation they had, I guess it's a decent gun overall. If you get the steel hammer, it's an okay gun. If you don't, then the gun will probably break quite quick. Another thing that I had to do is I had to glue the front rails in. I epoxied them in right there. You can see the epoxy right there because the screw post broke, and to buy a new tinted frame that would probably break again is $30, and I'm not about to do that. I probably will eventually upgrade these to the Stark Arms ones with trades like I did with an original one I had, because these are Stark Arms Glocks. But other than that, I personally like the more realistic design of these ones. I don't think these ones fit in real steel holsters, but the dimensions are very close to the real Glock. I've seen videos and pictures of the real ones. Just the overall look of it looks really good compared to a lot of the Glocks, which is the most attractive part of these, which is why people buy them. The Stark Arms ones, not these ones. These ones are pretty ugly because you got that tinted frame.